Welcome to my next video on learning the Woovebox. Today is going to be a little bit of a different format. I've got a lot of stuff that I had to do on the computer before I could bring my samples into the Woovebox. So I'm going to be showing you sort of what I did there to create the samples that made up the sound that we're hearing in the background. The software that I'm using here is called Audacity. You can get it for free on their website. It runs on every platform. And inside of Audacity, this is what the waveform sounds like. Now, this file is called a Wavetable, and it came from a guy, Signs of Life. Chris at Signs of Life is an amazing ambient music production teacher, teaches all kinds of stuff on YouTube. Go check out his channel if you're not familiar with it and you're interested in ambient. So here's what that waveform sounds like. You can kind of hear it sweeping through all of the different wave sounds throughout the file. So what I did to make my samples was to take the length of that file, chop it into 16 so that I had 16 evenly spaced samples. And when you zoom in, you can see the individual waveforms. So I went through, I made 16 separate tracks, and I found individual waveforms. I used a feature in Audacity called Zero Crossing Snap. Snapped it so that I was getting to where it crosses zero to make sure I had a nice clean waveform. And cut and pasted those separate waveforms into separate tracks. And when you look at them all on screen, it's pretty easy to see that they're all in phase. You can see it sort of transitioning from one waveform to the next. There's no place where I grabbed the wrong zero crossing and snapped out of phase. So once I had all that, it was time to solo each track, export it as a separate wave file, numbered carefully so I can find them later on, and then use WoovConnect to move those 16 samples into the Woovebox. So now I'm going to transition over to the Woovebox and show you what I did with those 16 samples once I had them in there. Oh, but before I do that, let me show you why it is that I got the Woovebox in the first place. I live out in the desert in a really beautiful place, and I love to go hiking. I love to be out in nature. So once I had the samples on the Woovebox, I just did a quick hike up above the town so I could look out and watch the sunset. This is my view as I did the work that we're about to go see on the Woovebox. All right, so here is the sample kit under sampler mode with my 16 samples. And each of these samples, I went in and made sure that it was in loop mode. So that's what creates a waveform instead of just a single pass sample like a drum sound. All right, and then I have implemented a workaround here to get the long, slow sound. If there's a way to make very, very long, continuous drone sounds, I can't figure out what it is. So what I've done is I've created two tracks. One of them beat 1 and 2, and the other track 3 and 4. So I'm going to solo just this one and play what I've done here. Each of these samples is the same note. This one is slice 1. This one is slice 3. If we go to the other track, what I want to do is I want to bounce around. I don't want to just play continuously through it, because then the transitions would be subtle enough you probably wouldn't really be able to hear it. So back in the sampler, I'm going to go from 1 to 8. I'm going to do this, bounce 1, 8, 2, 9, like bounce around through the waveform. So the way I did that, you can see that this one is slice 10. So 1 to 10 to 3, no, to slice 3 to slice 12. So I bounced around through my slices to give me some movement. Let's go into this track, solo it, and play it. Here's what one track sounds like. All right, here's a thing that keeps happening. I don't know what goes on, but every once in a while I go to hit play on a track and it doesn't play. So I'm going to turn this off, turn it back on. Go into the bass track, solo it, and play it. So each track fades all the way down to quiet before it goes on to the next note. And if I unsolo it, the other track picks up the empty space. It's not perfect. You can hear some of the overlap leading to volume changes, but it's good enough for me. And a big part of my musical theory, the theory behind my music, is that I work with the technology that I have instead of trying to force it to do exactly what I want. So I'm going to embrace the sort of the amplitude change across this drone. All right, and some of the other things that I did in here. First, let me show you the amp envelope. So I have a 1.6 second attack, no decay. So at the end of the 1.6 seconds, we're at full volume, sustaining at 127, which is full volume, and then fading off in about 4 seconds. So it gives us that slow ramp up, slow ramp down, and lets the two tracks fade over the top of each other. The other thing I did to give us a little more movement is added my favorite bandpass filter, cutoff 50, with sine wave, 120 for the depth, so it's really moving quite a lot, moving that bandpass filter quite a lot, and doing it over 29 beats, so it doesn't sync up with the repeat of the sequence itself. So at 29, it's not 32. It's going to be slightly shorter, so that bandpass filter movement is going to be separate from the movement in the sequence and give us a never repeating or a very long repeat on the effect. And that's basically everything that I did to create this sound. The other thing I did, though, you'll hear for the first time after this, I'm gonna put on a slideshow of the landscape here, and I'm gonna play 32 bars of this sound and just let you hear it clean. The way I got a clean recording was by going into song mode and dump song. When you but before you can dump a song, you have to have a track, or have to have a fragment. So in here I have a 64 beat fragment. So by making a song, when you dump out the song, if you have fragments, if you have an actual song programmed, that's what will dump out when you dump it out. So I dumped it out to the computer, and then I'll play that actual wave file so you can hear a clean recording of this track that I just created. Thanks so much for tuning in. Sorry this one was a little bit long, but there's a lot to it. And just a reminder, this series is about learning the Woovebox, and here I am on Sunday, day 7. I got it last Monday, and, you know, doing some pretty interesting stuff. All right, take care.